everybody. This is Scott Hutzbeth with Agent Mastermind. Super excited today to have a new guest who's never before been on class. Man, Willie. I'm super excited to have you here. So Willie is a real estate investor, or should I say, real estate agent turned investor, who has been investing in the Boston real estate since 2006. And Willie, I don't want to steal your thunder, man. You have so many amazing things to share, and I'm so intrigued and excited to have you here. Thank you so much for reaching out and saying, hey, let me share with your group. And I got my notepad, and this is one of my hot topics, is investing in real estate. And I know you want to try to change the mindset of what's going on out there as a real estate agent. So, man, what do you got for us?
Yeah, Scott, first of all, thanks. I appreciate you, having me on. Hopefully I'm able to share some good information with your audience, and we'll get right into it. First, I'll tell you a little bit about, myself, my history in the business. As Scott mentioned, I have been in real estate since 2006. For those of you who are old enough to remember, I bought my first home in 2006, and in 2007, the stock market started to crash. Housing market not too long after that, 2008. But I made some good investments, had a steady hand, and in 2010, 2011, 12, bought some really good investments at the bottom of the market and kind of rode the thing up. So situation we're going through right now, today, this week, this month, very familiar, has a very familiar feel. And yeah, I mean, so a quick side note, I would tell you, if any of you are investors, outside of your agent business, definitely keep a steady hand. Don't put your head down, look for opportunities out there, and continue to tell your clients to look for opportunities as well, because they're going to be coming. The majority of the people out there are they run backwards, right? They do things when you're not supposed to. We'll dive a little deeper into that, as we go along. But I also in 2012 started my brokerage business. Had my real estate license for a couple of years. Loved the business, and there were a couple of people that came to me, said, hey, we'd love to work with you. We started a team, and then eventually our own brokerage. And then I would say that I'm most proud of the meetup group, Boston Wealth Builders here in Boston. We started a meetup group for investors and like-minded people who want to achieve a little bit more. And today that meetup group is 2,300 members. We've done hundreds of meetings, and it's just been a great networking, educational platform for myself and so many other investors in Boston. And we also get a lot of people down from New Hampshire and up from Rhode Island as well. So it's been a terrific platform for us. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Do you guys meet in person, or, man, that's an awesome group. Do you guys meet in person or virtually, or or both, or how do you guys get together on a regular basis?
A little bit of both. We do it a little different than your typical RIA. Typical RIA gets together in the same hotel room, or every third Thursday of every night. We try to get a diverse group of people. We found that the RIAs always get the same people on the same Thursday night. We go from north of the city to south of the city, directly in the city. We have them on Monday nights. We have seminars. We have rehab tours. The rehab tours are always big. I buy a multifamily, gut the building, and bring the group out to see what it looks like with rough electrical and rough plumbing, and how we acquired the building, and what are the challenges of going through construction and everything else. So the rehab tours are big, but we do a little bit of everything. We just get together at a local brewery or bar and just chop it up and just pick each other's brains and just share some of the things that are going on in the industry as well. So it's been great.
Man. That sounds awesome, man. Congratulations on that, man. That sounds great.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Changing lives, brother. Changing lives.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, we'll dive right into today's topic. Before we get into the investment side of it, though, I want to speak to some of the people who may be a little bit newer to the business themselves. So if you've been in the business for years and you really want to get into the content, give me a couple minutes here, but I want to take a step back and make sure that if we have somebody on this call or on this webinar who isn't years of experience in the business, I want to make sure that they understand a couple things just first. So I want to dive in. When I didn't completely understand this when I first got into the business either. Finding your niche, and I believe that most agents, when they get into the business, they don't understand that it is a business themselves. They are business owners, and they go out there and they just try to sell real estate. They want to sell single families and condos and multifamily. They want to sell urban and suburban and they want to get into the high rises. Everything looks good to them because they just want to get out there and make money. And I can tell you from experience that that's the wrong way to kind of approach the business. You really want to figure out, what do you like about the business? Why does real estate bring you in? And then that's going to show in yourself. You're going to enjoy working with clients that have a like mind. When I first got into the business, I could not stand selling single family homes in the suburbs. It just wasn't appealing to me. Single family homes, people that buy those, and this is not a knock on anybody because there's a lot of agents that sell and do very well with this side of the business, but it's more of an emotional decision, right? Does my dog can I see myself and my dog in his backyard? Do I love this kitchen? Is it the right bedroom number? Those are emotional decisions that are pulling people in. And though I did a lot of that, it wasn't the side of the business that I loved. I liked the more logical, numbers-driven buyers that I were working with, the numbers-driven sellers that were more, driven by logic and numbers than anything else. And I found that when I was working with investors. So that's why I created my niche there. You can be in, suburban, you can be in urban, you can be in luxury, you can be in, kind of that middle market. But I think at the end of the day, you have to decide where you want to be. And if you create a brand around that and create your niche, I think I know you'll be a lot more successful than if you're just a generalist. You really want to make sure that you're a specialist in the business. You want to understand your barriers to entry. If you're
Willie, how did you pick this? Like, how you picked multifamily? Was it like, did someone help you with that, or like, did you say, man, I like this the most, or like, what was it for you that helped you pick that particular thing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was because I was already an investor. I bought that first home in 2006. I loved the business, and it was actually what pulled me into being a real estate agent as well. And I wanted to, if anyone who knows me knows that I'm absolutely obsessed with the business. I will talk about it. I often warn people, if you're gonna ask this question, you better be prepared. I'm gonna talk your ear off now. Like I said. So,
All right, love it,
um,
love it.
so I just had that passion. I liked educating those people, and this is why when you find your niche, it's going to be apparent to other people as well. When you can speak about something with passion, and just it comes off of you. People start to believe it, right? People start to believe, yeah, this is the home for me. This is the right investment for me. If he's super excited about it, and there were some certain situations where I was telling people, I'm like, hey, well, if you don't jump on this thing, I'm thinking about putting in an offer. And when you say stuff like that, like I said,
Yeah.
you'll get people moving. And it's from experience as well. I mean, the multifamily, it's like for me, I can never go into downtown Boston and sell luxury real estate. I just don't know that business. I don't know the nuances of luxury real estate in Boston. I know the multifamily business. I understand it. I know the intricacies of it, and that's what to be successful. That's really what you want. You want to be able to know the ins and outs and how 0% interest rates with the Feds are going to affect interest rates with everything else, and that's what your clients are really going to expect, and that's how you get a reputation of you can do a lot less marketing because you're going to be referred to a lot more clients because you're such an expert in your market. It's like anything else. Take the medical industry. I don't want heart surgery from a general MD. I want it from a heart surgeon. I don't want brain surgery from a general MD. I want it, though the general MD makes money, I want it the specialist at the end of the day, and that's what you want to form for yourself in real estate.
Love it.
Understanding your barriers to entry. Luxury real estate, a lot higher barriers to entry than suburban single family homes. So just kind of keeping that in mind. Though you can make a lot more money in luxury, though you can make a lot more money in commercial and real estate, there are higher barriers to entry, and just kind of thinking about that on your way in. Making sure you have a financial and marketing business plan. A lot of agents, again, I don't want to harp on this too much, but come into the business treating it like it's a job. They came from corporate America, or they came from somewhere else where they've had a job and the boss told them what to do. You are now a business owner, and you have to treat it like that. You should probably have some type of financial plan, and I'll kind of go into a typical agent business plan with you, and then show you how I was able to ramp it up, that typical agent plan, by working with investors, and that's kind of why we're here. So treat it like a business, and then understand that it's a numbers game. When you're in sales, we'll dive a little bit deeper into that, but understand that you're playing a numbers game. If you're working with 10 buyers, there's a very good chance that you're not going to close, and especially in today's market, where you have very little inventory, that you're going to close 10 of those buyers, right? You need probably in our current market in Boston here, you probably need to be working with closer to 50 or 60 buyers if you want to close 10 of those, if that makes sense, right? So a lot of agents get into the business and they're like, yeah, I'm doing well. I'm working with 3 or 4 clients right now. And I'm like, nah, I don't know. I mean, statistically speaking, you're probably not going to close any of them, right? I mean, you really need to ramp up your volume. You really need to have a good CRM and good business organizational skills in order to really run it like a business. And we're going to kind of dive right into that right now.
So when you say, just to clarify, when you say 50, you're talking 50 people who want to buy, period, not necessarily investors, or are you talking 50?
Yeah, I mean, there would be investors if they're your clients. And again, this is where I'm gonna dive into why I've started working with investors, because you can do a lot more volume with a lot less clientele with investors, right? I would say 50 is your single family buyer or seller, because statistics show us that even nationwide, most people are staying in their homes 5, 6, 7 years, right? So if you sell a buyer today and you close on that, there's a good chance you're not going to get any repeat business from that client for 5, 6, 7 years. Whereas if you're working with an investor, most investors are not going out and buying 10-unit buildings and then never buying anything again for 6 or 7 years. In order to buy that 10-unit building, you've had to done some volume already just to get your resume up where a bank will even allow you to have that loan to begin with. So that's kind of where we're going to get. If that answers your question, Scott.
100%, man. 100%. Thank you.
Perfect. So this is what our market looks like here in Boston. And this is what I mean by your typical agent business plan. This is what every agent should have, and you have to know your numbers if you're in the business, or if you're going to survive in the business, right? If you don't know these numbers inside and out, you need to take a step back, figure them out, and put something like this in place to really survive, in my opinion, right? So what is your average sales price in your market? You should know that. What is the average commission rate? Here in Boston, it's 500,000, but roughly 5%. So total commission on the deal would be roughly 25,000. If you had an agent split of 50-50, if you're obviously, and I think this is throughout the country, that 25,000, 12.5 would go to one office, the listing office, 12.5 would go to the other office, the buyer broker's office. And then in a hypothetical situation, you have a 70-30 split with your broker. You're taking home 70, the broker's keeping 30. You're taking home about $87.50, and hopefully that makes sense to everyone, right? $500,000 home is your typical sale, 5% is your typical commission. In a typical transaction, some are going to be lower, some are going to be higher. You're going to take about $87.50 and put that into your pocket when it's all said and done, right?
Love it. Love it.
So if you wanted to make, if you close, let's say if you wanted to make and say, hey, I want to make $90,000 for the year, you know that you need to, and again, these are round numbers because I don't know how much you're spending on marketing, administrative costs, and everything else. You need to toss that in. But let's say, like I said, you're probably going to bring home $87,500 if you're going to close your typical 10 deals for the year. This is about what I did, first couple of years in the business. The numbers were probably a little bit lower. I think our average sales price was probably $350, but I did about 10 deals and brought home that commission. I realized, and this is where we'll kind of get into the numbers when we talk about volume, that in order for me to really do those 10 deals, this is what I really had to produce. And this is where I say you really have to understand it's a numbers game. Your numbers may be, your closing ratio may be different if you're a better salesperson, or if you know the tactics, or if you're just a really personable person. But this is what I was performing on roughly that first couple of years. For me to close 10 deals, I needed about 15 contracts. And for me, I mean 15 contracts. That's a seller has agreed and signed a listing agreement with me to sell, or a buyer has submitted an offer and the offer has been accepted. Why do I need 15 contracts in order to close 10 deals? Because one of those buyers or two of those buyers are going to go out and buy a automobile right before closing and not get approved for their loan, right? Scott's laughing because he knows this definitely happened to you before, right? A couple of those sellers are going to decide they don't want to sell. One of those sellers is going to fire me because they were a little bit impatient. So 15 contracts is probably going to lead you to 10 deals closed. A prospect is someone who is either very serious, they haven't yet signed the listing agreement with me yet, or I'm representing them as a buyer, but we haven't yet submitted an offer and found a property. So you need about 45 prospects in order to turn into 15 contracts, and in order to turn into 10 deals closed to get your 87.5 for the year. In order to get my 45 prospects, I need about 150 leads. And a lead to me is Scott calls me up and say, hey, Willie, I have somebody in your Boston market who wants to, sell their property, right? That is a lead. Until I actually have a conversation with that person and they indicate to me that there is a serious chance of me hiring me, then they become a prospect. They sign the listing agreement, then they become a contract. We close the deal, and then they become a closed deal, right? So you can see how someone who is first in the business and say, hey, I'm working with like 15 people, I know I'm gonna make a killing this year. Statistically speaking, you're probably not going to do that, right? You really have to crank volume and do volume, especially in a low inventory market like we have right now, in order to kind of make your numbers. And these are the numbers every real estate agent should know. And this is why I'm going to show you exactly why I started working with a real estate agent, or working with investors and developers, to make this a little bit easier for myself. But before we get to there, to complete your business plan, is a very simplified version. We know we need 150 leads. The next thing I would do if I was a brand new agent is figure out, how do I generate 150 leads in my business? I know that my broker is probably going to, toss me a few if your broker is, giving out leads. I know that I can get a couple at networking events. I know that if I really work my friends and family, I can get a few there. I might start cold calling. Or I might start, doing some mail marketing, which is it became very ineffective here in Boston in a very short period of time. But this is pretty much my business plan, year 1 and year 2. So hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Any
100%,
questions?
man. So I mean, you just brought up four places where you could get leads, which I like. So if you're not doing all 4 of those, that's something to think about right there. I mean, I could literally take that and go, all right, in my network, well, obviously not today, but when all this craziness is over, but picking up the phone right now, Willie, is like, man, like people are home, they're bored, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely.
Great time to have conversations right now.
Absolutely. I mean, if there's a lockdown, everyone's home right now, so it might be a good time. Here's the other thing, and if you get back down to it, little bit of a side note, we talked about it. Most people, success wouldn't be what success was if everyone had it, right? And kind of think about that. I mean, if everyone was successful, no one would be. Most people move in the direction that is the direction that they shouldn't, right? I think Warren Buffett, famous investor, is kind of like, when everyone's being greedy, I'm being cautious. I can't remember his exact words. When everyone else is being cautious or running scared, I'm the one that's being aggressive and going out and buying and looking for opportunities. Right now, people are running scared. I've gotten 3 calls or 4 calls yesterday from sellers who were like, hey, I don't really know, blah, blah, blah. 3 or 4 months ago, now are calling me up after the Dow Jones takes a 3,000 point dip. And we have this, this virus scare. Now they're saying, hey, let's sell. Well, me as an investor, I'm looking for opportunities now, right? If there's 10, 15 people calling me, I can't buy every one of them. So I'm looking for the best deals out of that. And that's what I mean. Right now, people may start dumping, and if you're a real estate agent, you probably should start looking for that.
Good point. Yeah, that's a great point, man. Because now the fear is in, like, man, I can't put it in the stock market.
Right.
Yeah,
which is probably what you probably should do if the market drops 5,000 points. I mean,
right.
JetBlue is at a value right now.
Maybe it's an and, not an or, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, so why investors? You look at that typical business plan, and investors, I found that if I did a good job with an investor, if I showed them the property that they wanted, to see, and I, kind of didn't present any old thing. I really understood what they were looking for and kind of their niche within the business. They were repeat buyers. They buy multiple deals per year, right? So I mean, even as an investor myself, we purchased 4 buildings last year for a total of 15 units or some odd number, something around that. So we're going back to agents multiple times for purchases. And if I'm in an investor at the peak of my career and I'm looking to liquidate, I'm probably selling off multiple buildings as well. I've worked with a ton of investors who were, in their, late 60s, early 70s, and said, hey, I want to kind of, take it down. I'm looking at, kind of liquidating my portfolio and rolling. And I sold the first building for them, did a really good job, and then, like I said, built the relationship and had multiple transactions because of that, right?
That's
So they
awesome.
buy and sell often.
Yeah.
You can systematize your business, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how to do that. Investors know the process, and this is one of the things that I loved about working with investors. There was a lot less explaining to do. They know that they need to hire an attorney, right? They know that they're going to have to pay transfer tax. They know that they're going to have to they don't necessarily need to go to the closing. They can, there's a lot less questions and emotion involved. They already know the process. They know how the game goes. They know what the purchase and sales is, and they're not going to sit down and read every paragraph word for word. A lot of times you can get away with just, docu-signing and sending it over. They know they need, certain escrow deposits and everything else. So they know the process. They know the game. And last but not least, I think one of the best things is free investing advice. I talk to a lot of investors, which is giving me a lot of education for free. I pick everyone's brains. And the thing about human nature, we love sharing what we know. I mean, look at Scott and I on this on this call, right?
Right.
People love sharing what they know, and if you take advantage of that, you can really build rapport. When you sit down at that kitchen table, I'm a very impatient person, and I used to be the person who goes in and says, hey, can we just get this signed? And I realized that that's not how you build rapport. If you have someone who has this abundance of knowledge and they own 20 properties or 50 properties or 100 units or whatever it may be, how did you get there? How did you achieve that? What made you what do you think about the market today? Where do you think we're going? That's how you build rapport with people and also learn something and get advice from them at the same time. A lot of investors have access to opportunities that you may not have access to, and now you're learning about those opportunities by sitting down and taking advantage of human nature and asking people, probing questions.
Hey Willie, let me ask you this. Do you think that the reason maybe people don't get into the investor world and work with investors is because the lack of information? Like they may ask me a question I don't know about and I don't want to feel stupid. Or I've never bought an investment property myself, or I've never bought a multifamily. I may have done help somebody buy one, but I really don't know about, the buy, repair, rent type scenario. So I shouldn't toy in that because I don't know.
No,
Like, how
and
did you get over that fear of not knowing,
that's a fair question. I guess my rebuttal to be, not to be, combative, but there are a lot of real estate agents who sell luxury real estate and don't own $1 million homes either.
That's true. Good point. Good point.
So I think it just takes a desire to learn, that side of the business. I think it's, asking the right questions. And if me as an investor today, I have new agents coming to me all the time and saying, what are you looking for? And I have no problem sharing or spending, take someone out to lunch, buy someone a coffee, buy someone lunch. I'm going to give you a quick side note, and this is, kind of, off the cuff, and I think this is important, success. If you find somebody out there, it blows my mind, especially in the Boston market. We have such high real estate prices here, and you'll run into people that'll, will if you find somebody out there who has information and you want that information and you want to pick their brain, spend $20, spend $40 on lunch to sit down with that person. People often like, I don't want to take people out to lunch. I don't have 40 bucks. 40 bucks is a very small, something, very small to spend. If that person can teach you how to make 100,000, if that person can teach you how to increase your business tenfold, so invest that money and sit down, especially if you find somebody who's unique and they say this person's very successful in a particular market. And I did that, often on the front end. I used to have a budget in my, real estate business. I think it was at the time, I think it was 500 bucks, because I think the average, I was thinking 40 to 50 bucks in terms of, depending on how luxury the lunch was, that we can go out and how many people they brought. And just said, hey, I'm taking 10 people out to lunch, every month. And the business exploded because of that, because I wasn't scared to say, I think that you have something of value and I want to hear what it is. I'm going to take you out to lunch. Don't worry about it. You pick the spot and I'm going to pay for it. And when you do that, people will give you all the time
Great
in the
idea.
world because they know you're serious.
It's a great idea.
You know,
Awesome.
so
Love
quick
it.
side note. So yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's going to take. We talked about barriers to entry, whether it be this business, whether it be commercial. If you're leasing out supermarkets, takes a long time to learn that business as well. I think that the lower the barrier to entry, the more competition that you're going to have, and the less money that you'll end up making anyway. Because there's so many single family, residential homes. I grew up in a single family, so I know it. But so did most people in America, right? So I mean,
Right.
you're going to have a lot more competition which means you're going to have to do a lot more volume. If you can weed yourself out of the crowd and create a niche for yourself, I think you'll be a lot more successful, whether it be investors or luxury or something else. So,
Amen.
so
I love
here's
I love the not to interrupt you, brother. Sorry, but I
no, no,
love the part if you want to learn from somebody, take them to dinner, take them to lunch, take them to pay for it and get learn what you need to learn, of course, So especially like I always say, if somebody's doing what I want to do, I'm going to do whatever I can to learn from them. Go work for them for free.
yeah,
Spend time with them, find out how can I help this person. So like I call it college education. How do I learn from what I really want to do in this business? And it's a great way to do it. Just sit down with somebody and the 99.9. Have you ever had somebody not tell you information about how to do something? Like, no, I'm not
no,
going to tell you that I want you to know.
no. If you tell somebody, hey, I want to take you out to lunch, and you pick the place, you pick the time. I'm going to dive. Sorry, Scott. And this is one of the things that I was talking about. I get passionate
Yeah,
about this stuff, right?
I love it.
I had a couple of guys tell me, you know, I really like to go out with, Scott, right? I think Scott's a great mortgage broker. He really knows the business. But, I work during the day, and Scott, is with his kids on the weekend, and he can't come out on the weekends, and I can't come out during the day. I think that is foolish. Scott is going to sit down and tell me something that's going to 3x, 10x my business, right? He's going to give me information that's going to make me 50, 60, 70, $100,000. So basically what
Exactly.
you're saying is I make $50,000 a year, so I make roughly $200 or $250 a day. You're basically saying that you can't sacrifice $200 a day to sit down with Scott during the week so he can show you how to make 50,000 extra dollar or $100,000 a year. It's just
Man, brother.
you're a bad investor.
Mind
That's just
blowing.
silly to me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So
Mind blowing.
at the end of the day,
Yep.
if you make $200 a day plus Scott, his lunch costs you $50, you invested $250 to get you somewhere that's going to make you an extra, $200,000 or whatever it may be,
Exactly.
depending on who that person is.
Two
That is
million.
just
Could be 2 million.
2 million. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It blows my mind that people don't get that, right? I mean, I can't because I work during the week. Take the day off.
Yeah, right,
You're trying to get away from the corporate.
right. I might miss a
Right.
call. Yeah.
Right.
That's funny.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
it blows my mind. So think like an investor in your life and in the things that you're doing. You have to be able to say, is this day off? I mean, you're willing to take it off to go to Florida or whatever. I mean, you're already in Florida, so I mean, you probably wouldn't visit Florida, but for us northeastern people, we take the day off. We'll go to Florida, take a week off to go to Miami. But like I said, we won't take the day off to invest into our business. From a very experienced, educated person, it just makes no sense to me. So,
Gotcha.
yeah. So here's what I did. I think I did a couple of these and it kind of blew my mind and just basically turned the way I was thinking and did, catered my whole business around this. But I think at the time, let's say if we backed up, we said, well, numbers are a little adjusted here. Let's just go right into it. Let's say the ugly home in Boston. And when I say ugly, I mean old wooden windows. The roof has been patched multiple times. You can see it's 10 different colors of gray, which means the seller really can't afford to replace the roof, so they keep patching it. There's weeds growing everywhere, mail's falling out of the mailbox. That's something that I target right now. I'm looking for that house because I know that that person is either in a distressed situation or they've abandoned the house or someone passed away and their kids are in California and they can't take care of that particular property. That's the one I want because I know that at the end of the day, if my investor puts some money into this thing, that house is really going to be worth 600,000. So if I can get it, pick it up or have the investor pick it up at 300,000, I'm going to get paid twice on this deal, right? My average commission rate is 5%. 315,000 is the total commission. On this particular deal, This one blew my mind. It's actually 3 commissions total actually on this one when you think about it. I already have my client base already in place. If I can get my seller to list this house with me, I don't need to put it on MLS. I don't need to go out to the market. And again, I know I'm probably going to get some questions because MLS is changing laws and every state is different now. But here we don't necessarily need to go to the MLS. If you already have a client, go find that client, and you know, you have to have a dual agency disclosure to your client. But as long as your client knows that you're representing both sides and you're not trying to manipulate the price with your buyer, this is completely okay for you to do, right? So if the commission is 15,000, dual agency is 100% to your office, your broker agent split is 70-30, you put in 10-5 into your pocket for this one transaction. The beauty of this is your investor is going to say, thank you, Willie, thank you, Scott, thank you for bringing this deal to me. I've made 50, 60, $70,000 on this particular deal. I'm going to rehab this property. I'm going to put it back on the market. I need a retail buyer 3, 4, 5, 6 months later after I flip this property. You're going to put it back on the market, excuse me, with your particular investor client. Commission now is 2.5% because we assume that in a retail situation, you're going to need MLS to find that retail buyer or that other buyer. Your take home again on a 70-30 split is 10,500. So if you
Wow.
take, you know, the 10,500 made from the initial transaction, 10.5 up here, you've just made a gross profit of $21,000 on one transaction. So
Crazy.
if you think about that, we talked about needing 150 leads to get to 10 deals and all this other stuff to make $87,000. If you basically did 4 of these for the year, you make the same amount of money with a lot less hassle, right? You basically only need 4 addresses to make the same amount of money you would have with 10 addresses and 10 different purchase and sales and 10 different buyers agents and 10 different buyers attorneys and 10 different closings. This kind of blew my mind, and I decided to kind of cater my business around it. This is when I took it to the next level, right? And again, this may not apply to, you know, everyone in the country, but please don't tune me out, because there are certain scenarios where here in Boston we build up. There's not a lot of land. Other places of the country, you build out, right? So when I say multifamily condo conversion, please don't say we don't have those here. This can translate into a land development opportunity, right? Where you go find somebody an acre of land, or in some cases it might be more. An acre is a lot here in Boston. It might be several acres, and you help that client subdivide that piece of land and almost do the same exact thing that I'm doing here, right? But to get into it, here in Boston, we have a lot of 3 families. We build up. We call them, you want to reference Mark Wahlberg, a triple decker, right? That's how we call them here
I love it.
in Boston.
That's pretty good, man.
Thank you. I can turn it on and off. You know, I leave it off more often than not because it's a very annoying accent. So, the 3 family, right? You can buy an ugly 3 family here, and again, these numbers are probably absurd to some people, but this is the same thing. You can buy an ugly. It needs new windows. The decks are falling off of it. The roof is caving in. The shrubs are overgrown. There might be some water coming into the basement. Let's say that transaction will run you $700,000. Commission rate's 5%. Your total commission for the deal is roughly $35,000. Again, dual agency, broker agent split 70-30. Your take home 24,500 on that particular deal. Same situation. Your investor is now going to, or a little bit different, but pretty much you're the same. Your investor is going to take those 3 units, and what we're doing a ton of here in Boston is lifestyles have changed, right? The 3 family was built in 1910, 1920. We have very old stock of homes here. For someone to move into 1 unit and then have their family members or their in-laws live in the upper 2 units or the 2 units below, or whatever, however you broke it down. Now, with the influx of young people and students and everything else that are, you know, the people coming to MIT, people coming to Harvard, Northeastern, Suffolk, some of the great universities that we have here, they're staying here, and we have a serious demand for housing. So over the last, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years, we've done a lot of what we call condo conversions. We're now taking those 3 families and we're breaking them up into 3 separate units.
Wow.
So for those of you who are not familiar, you will now have 3 separate deeds for each one. So you own unit 3, top floor. Somebody else owns unit 2, middle floor. Somebody else owns unit 1. You now have an association that's put together, and you have to collect money for the master insurance and everything else. I don't want to go too deep into the inner workings of a condo conversion, but that's what a condo is. Each of those condos will probably sell for about 600,000.
Insane.
It is very insane. 1.8 million. 4,500,000, or excuse me, $45,000 commission. Again, you're probably going to go find and probably put these on MLS to a retail client, and get an agent split 70-30 of 31.5. So if you combine that with up top, if I did my numbers right, it doesn't look like I did. I did. Okay, 56,000, right?
Yep.
Did one of these, and it was a game changer for me, right? I said, why would I do anything else? This you know, why I can do 2 of these and make more money than if I was working in the suburbs with 10 different buyers, looking at 10 different kitchens, trying to, work through all the emotions that come through the suburban buyer, right? So this is how an investor and working with developers and understanding what they're looking for can really make your business kind of explode. And hopefully that makes sense to everyone.
Just thinking outside the box, man, at a huge level. I mean, I didn't know you could take a 3 unit and turn it into 3 separate condos. Didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, we've been doing a lot of it up here, and there's just a need for it. There's a lot of young people staying here, and lifestyles have changed as well. People don't necessarily live in 3,000 square foot homes any longer. They, I mean, here in Boston, we live in, typical living situation is 1,000 square feet, 900,000 square feet. Some of them are a little bit smaller. And these multifamilies, these 3 families were traditionally built as 3,300, 4,000 square foot buildings divided up between the 3 levels. So just taking one level will get you 1,100 to 1,500 square feet, which is very, sufficient for, most people nowadays, especially with a large student population. Very easy living for a lot of people here. So
I got a great question coming in here, Willie, from Janice. Thanks for being here, Janice. She says, question regarding loyalty. Find investors here will not sign a buyer's agreement. They just want you to bring them the deal. How do you protect your interest and then instead of them going behind your back, which happens?
So Janice was her name?
Yep.
Janice, great question. I was expecting that one to come up, right? So that is a terrific question. I have a 2-part answer. If they will not sign a buyer representation agreement, it comes a lot down to reputation. I find that, and hopefully if they're intelligent investors, right, and you're bringing them a good deal, they want to reward good behavior. They want to reward. If they're making 50, 60, $100,000 on that turnaround, that flip, or that condo conversion, it would be silly for them not to bring that deal back to you on the opposite end. And I've had to tell people, point blank, look, I'm really good at what I do. I'm really good at sourcing deals that investors want to buy. I have a pool of investors that want to buy this property. I make my money as a real estate agent when things sell. If you're going to take money out of my pocket on the back end, then I can no longer bring you good deals. Here in Boston, we can sign a buyer representation agreement on the front end. Most of the people that I work with, we have good relations, and you don't have to do that. It's on kind of an unspoken rule that here your buyer would be very silly to not bring that deal back to you. And I think it's just having a conversation with that client on the front end. If you're in a state where buyer representation agreement is something that's not done, or I don't know if she was saying that it can't be done, or they just are unwilling to do it, then you just have to have the conversation with them to let them know that, look, if that's going to be the case and you're taking money out of my pocket, and I refuse to bring you any more deals, I'm going to bring your competitor or somebody else within the market doing the same thing a good deal, and we're going to build a relationship on the other side. Hopefully that answers her question.
Sounds great, man.
Sounds good. So
there's another one. Where Kimberly, thanks for being here. Says where I live, if you bring an investor a deal, when they go to flip it, they usually want a discount for the multiple properties. Great.
Again, it's having that conversation, because
Yep.
the investor, that sounds like the investor feels like you're giving them, or they're doing you a favor. And it's your job as the agent to make sure that you articulate to them that everyone needs to win in this, right? Investors don't make money. Let's scroll back for just 1 second. Let's say that you're somewhere in this single family, and hopefully everyone can see this single family flip model. If I am an investor and you told me I have to pick up this house for 300,000 and my ARV, or my after repair value, is 600,000, right? I'm not going to spend 300,000 or even close to 250 on this project. It's just not a viable project for me, right? So I'm probably going to spend, or at a max of, let's call it 150,000 to get this deal done. There might be another $50,000 in cost and everything else generated through commissions and everything else. My profit is still $100,000 here. I'm bringing in, as the agent, about $21,000 in commissions. They have to understand that if they're going to make 6 figures, you have to eat as well. So it sounds like your investors being a little greedy, and it's your job as an agent to articulate to them that this has to be a win-win. If you want me to continue to bring you deals, then I also have to eat as well, and I refuse to discount my commission on the back end. Or you can just blame it on your broker. I often tell my agents when they're here is just blame it on me. My broker doesn't operate on a discount. We perform at a high level. We provide a high level of services to our clients, and we expect to get paid accordingly for that. So I'd kick it back, blame it on your broker, and say, if you're not the type of person that likes conflict or doesn't like to ruffle feathers, blame it on your broker and say, hey, this is the way it is. And like I said, you can either take it or leave it. And most of the time, I can guarantee, if they see a $100,000 profit or a $75,000 profit in that particular deal, they're not going to turn it away, because they have to pay you 5% versus 4.5% or 4%. It just doesn't make financial sense.
I mean, the way I look at it, man, I would rather get something than zero. I mean, you know what I mean? And if you already have the person, you already have the property, you already know the property, yes, you got to do the same amount of work as far as marketing and stuff, but just having an honest conversation of how I 100% agree with you, how you make your money, but I don't want them to go packing either. I don't want them to go down the road and go, all right, I'll just go find somebody that'll work for less, which it might happen, but just have an adult conversation about what's fair.
Yeah, no, and that makes perfect sense as well. And it's all going to depend on your strategy, right? I mean, if you think, hey, you want to hold the line and you say this is what we're worth, or if you say, hey, and again, this is a Boston. We are it's a small city, and we have a little bit less inventory than other neighborhoods here, right? So when we find a opportunity, it is like finding a needle in a haystack, right? We really have to hold on to the line. If you're in a situation where you say, hey, I know that I have 3 or 4 other potential sellers getting ready to give me a call, and I'm going to probably listing 3 or 4 more of these opportunities, then maybe you do give that investor a discount, especially maybe if they're one of your only investors that you're working with at that particular time. Then you have to kind of play it by ear at that point.
Here's another one, brother. Sterling's got a call. He says, I want to make phone calls to try to get my 150 leads. Who do I target? Pre-foreclosures, probate, absentee owners?
That's a good question, Sterling. I would say there was no right or wrong answer. I would say whatever you do, you have to focus your efforts, right? If you're going to work probate, and for those of you who aren't familiar, probate is a situation where somebody has passed on. All this information is public record. If you are pre-foreclosures are anyone who is 30, 60, or 90 days behind on their mortgage is called a pre-foreclosure. If you're, not everybody is familiar with this, but if you are behind on your mortgage, that information is public record, and you can actually buy these lists of people who are behind on their mortgage. And same thing with probate as well, and same thing with the evictions. If you have a place like Boston where we have a lot of multifamilies and a lot of people are landlords, they run into trouble, and you might have somebody who says, hey, I just don't want to be a landlord anymore. This business isn't for me. You can also pull lists from eviction court, find out quit landlords or an eviction, and maybe at this point they're just kind of like, after this thing is done, I don't want this property anymore, and I want to, kind of want to get out. So to answer Sterling's question, uh, there's no right answer. Whatever you do, I would say focus on it. Too many investors or too many agents try to do everything for a short period of time. There are nuances in every single one of these strategies, whether it's probate. You want to, if you're doing probate, I wouldn't simultaneously do evictions and everything else. Probate is very, very delicate, right? You just had someone who has passed on, a family member, a dad, a mom, or someone in your family that you're related to. You're probably calling the executor of that estate, which is most likely a family member. You want to be delicate. You want to be have a good database. They may not be ready to let go of that property just yet. You want to have a different demeanor when you call. You want to be a little bit more sensitive and a little bit more, sympathetic to the situation, of that person. And to get into that mindset and quickly shift to something else is difficult. So I would say work a particular, maybe one or two particular niches, and work them well, and kind of create your lead generation from that. And hopefully that answers this question.
Absolutely, man. That was great. Here's a good one too, from Janice. Great one. Do you do you buy and hold condos, or just single family and multifamily? What are your thoughts on condos as an investment? Because you talked about turning a 3-unit into 3 condos. I love that idea.
Yeah. So here in Boston, we don't. I wouldn't say that the price point of a condo is too high to buy and hold. Most condo buyers are young professionals or young families looking for their first, kind of way into the market. The single families here, the suburbs, tend to be a little bit too expensive for, the first time buyer. So their entry point is that condo market. In terms of investors, you probably wouldn't buy and hold the condo. You would probably buy and hold the multifamily. You would buy and hold the 3-family prior to it being converted into condos, if that makes sense to Janice. Hopefully, right now, the majority of our stock in Boston is an old 3-family built in 1920 or something like that. Right now, they're being converted into condos, updated, gutted completely, and updated. But if I was an investor looking to buy in Boston, I'm going to buy that 3-family and hold on to it as an entire. I'm going to keep that one deed together and own the entire 3-family as a rental. And those 3 rents help me pay off my mortgage and taxes, and insurance, and everything else.
Awesome. So you would keep the 3-unit, not turn it into a condo, but rent it separately on 3 floors, or rent it as one, or
exactly rent it separately, the three separate tenants. Yep, exactly.
All right. And then when you're ready to cash out, turn it into condos.
That
sounds like the way to go.
You're on top of it, Scott. That's exactly right. If you can grab them now at a good price, put a minimal amount of work into them, hold on to them as rentals, the 3-family rental. But yes, you're absolutely right. When you cash out, as long as you're not in a dire situation, right, I would get it vacant, do the rehab again, and then cash out as condos, because your price point is going to be a lot higher.
Way higher, yeah. All right. One more question from Angel. She says, best way to source investors.
The best way to source investors.
Like you were talking about people that want to buy these properties, people that want to buy.
Networking.
Yeah, networking. Networking.
Hopping on eventbrite.com, hopping on meetup.com, and finding local real estate or local investor associations. That's actually the easier part of this business. There will always be people to buy good deals out there. Let's say if you have a good deal today and you haven't been networking, you don't have a list, I can almost guarantee you that if you hop on meetup.com right now, I am not familiar with the Florida real estate market, but let's say I happen to have a deal right now and I needed to find a buyer, I can almost guarantee you that I can hop on meetup.com, look at the group organizer of any of the real estate related meetups within that area, and contact that person, and I can guarantee you they can contact me with somebody who wants to buy that property. It's the same thing for Boston Wealth Builders in Boston here. I get calls from people, hey, I'm out in San Francisco. I have a client who just inherited a home in the Boston area, and they have no idea what it's worth or who to contact, or if there's a buyer, I can certainly help you with that problem, whether it be, within my particular neighborhood or a colleague of mine who is looking to purchase that property. So I would say if you want to build a personal relationship investor list, go out and go to these associations, ask people what they're looking for. Understand that each investor has their own niche. A lot of agents call me up and they say, hey, I have this single family flip in the burbs. Are you interested? The answer for me is always no. I don't flip properties. That's not my a niche as an investor. So just like you have your own niche or niche, or however your particular way of saying it, it is as an agent, investors also have their own niches as well, right? I do not flip single families, or I do not rent and hold single families in the suburbs. I don't own any commercial real estate either. My particular specialty is that 3-family residential property within 3 given neighborhoods of Boston. So very, very carved out niche. And the way I'm able to benefit from that is I know without even seeing a property, the value of that property, how much I would spend there, the ARV, and whether I need to get up and go to that property right now, right? That's how narrow my focus is and how much it's able to help me. That if you tell me, hey, there's a multifamily, a 3-family on Washington Street in the Dorchester area of Boston, and it's going for $600,000, then I need to leave each and every one of you on this webinar right now, because I need to get over to that property and snatch that thing up, because that is a very good deal.
I love it, man. I love it.
So that's like I said, each individual investor is going to have their niche. So take notes, figure out what they want, put them into your database, and when you come across that, you'll be able to help them. But I would say networking is probably the easiest way.
So being that we only have a couple minutes left, I want to leave you with this just to help everybody on the call here, because I think we all are like learn so much from you on this call today. Knowing what you know now, what would you do different if you were starting out again with what you're doing now?
If I was starting out again today, I'm a real student. I read a ton, and I'm not saying that books are bad. Definitely read, but I was under the impression that if I was the smartest guy in the room, that I would succeed. And today I realize that that is not the case at all. It is not always what you know, but who. I've made more money and had more success from networking meetings and Boston Wealth Builders and the people that I'm connected with, and the things that there's so many, if you're new to the business, thinking that other agents are your competition is faulty. I have so many great relationships with other agents where I can call somebody up and say, hey, I'm in a jam. How do you do this? Or what CRM are you working with? Or what are you using for XYZ? And if that other agent isn't willing to at least help you in some respect, cut that person off. There are other agents out there. And especially in Boston, it's not as cutthroat as most people think. There's the TV shows, right? The $1 Million Listing would make you think. It's a very helping industry. And I would have more of an abundance mindset. There's enough out there for everyone, instead of feeling like everyone's my competition. Getting out there and asking questions, and also sharing more. I didn't share enough, in the beginning of my career. And I think we're in a very sharing time in society where people appreciate people who go out and share what they know a little bit more. And if you do that, hold your first time home buyer seminars. Let me back up. I hate that, actually, the first time home buyer seminars, because they're so generic. Everyone does it. Put a spin on your seminars if you're going to do it. Separate yourself, create your niche, right? I didn't do first time home buyer seminars. I did first time investor seminars. Buy your first multifamily seminars. And I had such a bigger turnout than the 4 or 5 people that were sitting in a room on a generic home buying seminar, because I put that spin on it, that my touch on it, right?
That's great.
Women, the women in real estate touch, or this is how ladies buy their first, or single ladies buy their first home. It is the exact same formula for an old man that would buy their first home, but you touch on it, you put your own marketing spin on it, right? So that's the few things that I would do a little bit differently.
Love it. Man,
So,
so much info. We could have probably went on for a couple hours, bro. And I know you have a couple things to finish up here. Or...
yep, I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna fly through this because I know we want to wrap this up, and I don't want to keep everybody through lunchtime. I appreciate everyone staying with me. How do I find, and I think Sterling touched upon it a couple minutes ago, but how do I find a list of property that investors want to buy? Ugly house list, also call this driving for dollars, is the very best way. This is the only thing that you can't buy. This is your list. In my particular neighborhood in Boston and Dorchester, I've literally been on every single street, every side street, every nook, every little back alley in Boston because I was looking for the ugliest houses in Boston that I could cold call, door knock, drop flyers, and everything else. So I think that if you print off a map and figure out your neighborhood and drive create your own ugly house list, contact those people. I think that is the best way to find deals. But pre-foreclosures, we talked about evictions, tax liens, working with your local attorneys. There are a lot of probate attorneys that'll, if you have a good relationship with them, people like Scott, like I said, sometimes they call the mortgage broker first and they can't refinance. Some mortgage brokers will send out those leads to somebody else and say, hey, this person came and they just don't qualify for a refi. They're, getting foreclosed on. Can you help them sell? Outdoor ads, telling everyone and anyone and everyone who will listen what you do. Again, there is no one in my circle that doesn't know that I buy properties, that I help people other buy, that I'm an investor, right? That I'm in the real estate business. People stay quiet about it because they're not successful yet. You're never going to be successful if you stay quiet about what you're doing. Land, warehouse, and factory. So just telling everyone, putting ads wherever you can, looking for different opportunities, as far as you go. And here's the last thing I would say, just to kind of wrap up. Don't get too caught up, and Scott touched upon this, in the education, right? There's not a ton to know about multifamily. You really just kind of want to know some of the basics, and here they are. You want to know the term return on investment. If I put $1,000 into something, and in my first year I get a $300 cash flow, my return on investment is 30%, right? And it's really that simple. You want to know what private money and hard money is. You want to know what seller financing is. Loan to value. I don't think that you should be a real estate agent if you don't understand loan to value. After repair value is just, if I buy it at 300 and I put XYZ into it, what is it worth after? Debt to income ratio, again, if you're in the business and you don't know what debt to income ratio is, you probably brand new, or you probably should learn this anyway. Cash flow, I'm collecting $4,000 a month in rents. My expenses are $3,000. I'm cash flowing $1,000 at the end of the day. And cap rate is just a financial measure of a property's performance. Very simple equation as well. So those are the things. If you understand these terms, you're equipped to go out there and and work with investors. Everything else will be little tits for tat here and there as you go along. So
Beautiful,
hopefully
man.
that was helpful. Again, like I said,
it was beyond helpful. Beyond helpful.
I told you, Scott,
yeah.
I get really passionate about this, and could probably, like you said, probably could have went on for about 2 hours. So.
Oh yeah, no problem. No, I sincerely appreciate your time, man. I know you're busy. I know you got a lot going on. I just appreciate you giving back to the community, and specifically here at Agent Mastermind. And man, I'm sure that anybody that showed up today, and just so you know, this recording stays up for 20 weeks for everybody to watch. So make sure you get with your sponsor, the one that sent you the invites. And then if you're for some reason not getting the invites or the replays, you can go to amminvites.com if you're here and you're not getting invites or whatever, or your sponsor bailed on us or whatever. We're just here to help as many people as we can to be successful as they can in the real estate industry and mortgage industry. And so anything we can do. And Wendell, man, this is just amazing. Congratulations on your success, man. And I'll for sure be following you, and would love to have you back anytime you would like to be on this call, man. I really do appreciate you giving.
Yeah, no,
Wow.
I definitely appreciate you having me. And just for your listeners, if anybody, like I said, wanted to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn. We're on Instagram under Boston Wealth Builders. We drop a lot of information on there as well. If you're local to the Boston market, please join that Boston Wealth Builders group. And if, like I said, if you'd like to talk a little bit more about coaching or investing or anything like that, you can find us at mandrellco.com /coaching. And like I said, we can hop on a call and just talk a little bit more about what you're trying to do. Whether you be local or you're on the other side of the country, we'd love to kind of talk to you for a little bit and kind of share what we're doing as well.
Awesome. A ton of thank yous coming in, man. Great. I got a couple great presentations. So can you scroll down just a little bit to see I think it has your name on there or your information?
Yep. So a little bit here is
there we go. Cool, man. And please be respectful of Mandrell's dime. If you call him, he doesn't get right back to you. He obviously runs a business and runs a great business. So, if you're looking for some coaching, obviously text him, shoot him a call, set up a time for this type of coaching, man. And he's just a giver, and I appreciate you, man. I really do. Love having you.
Appreciate you having me on. And, everybody, and appreciate you having me on during lunchtime. And like I said, hopefully we'll be able to help a couple people out there. So I appreciate you guys' time.
Thanks so much, Wendell. Again, same time, same place right here on Agent Mastermind next week. And Wendell, man, I just really an honor to have you here, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out and giving back to the community. And I wish you nothing but massive success, which I know you'll have. And look forward to having you on again someday.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Be safe. I know we're in pretty much a country lockdown. So if there's anything I can do to help ease your pain of being inside and not being able to go anywhere and restaurants being closed, man, just reach out, hit me up on Facebook, and I'll send you a couple funny jokes or something that will make you laugh or make you smile or whatever we need to do to get through this together. And we'll see you same time, same place right here next week on Agent Mastermind. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you on the web. Take care.